The ideas, procedures, and suggestions contained within this podcast are not intended as a substitute for consulting with a medical professional. All matters regarding your health and fitness require medical consultation and supervision. Welcome to the Warrior Wellness Podcast, a podcast for military members, veterans, and first responders focusing on fitness, health, nutrition, and biohacking. Our mission with this podcast is to introduce America's heroes to lifestyle habits and hacks that will help them live healthier, happier lives, and in turn, be fit enough to continue their support of their communities and country.
Well, Dr. Ann Churong, thank you so much for being on the Warrior Wellness Podcast. So just a brief background on Dr. Churong. I asked her to be on this podcast because she happens to be an expert in sexual health. She's an intimate health expert, and she has over 25 years of experience specializing in anti-aging and biological cellular medicine. And she is a podcaster, an author, an entrepreneur, all the things, but she obviously is a super smart woman, and we're so happy to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me here.
So let's dive right in. We will talk about your expertise and what you do for men's sexual health, but we definitely don't want to leave out the ladies. So we'll touch upon that too. But you actually are kind of famous for creating a comprehensive protocol that revolutionizes treatments for men's sexual dysfunctions. And it's called the multimodality approach for sexual mastery. So what does this mean? And what is this approach that you take with healing people's struggles with sexual intimacy and maybe erectile dysfunction issues?
Right. Well, I name it like that because it's not an all. If a man has sexual dysfunction, it is not a one-dimensional treatment. It's not something that he can Google and take Viagra for, or this supplement that tout the for libido, or do this exercise. It's actually, if you have sexual dysfunction, it's really a warning sign that for the man, your health is not well, you're imbalanced. You need to be looking at your body overall comprehensively and evaluate what's going on, because when a man has sexual dysfunction, even a woman as well, there is some imbalance and blood flow dysfunction going on in the body that it manifests as, for a man, not able to get as much firmness as he used to get, and for a woman, it could manifest as, less libido, and it's harder for her to get stimulated like she used to. And what that really means is that there's something going on that's affecting the circulation flow from your heart down to the area below the belt. Right. So it's all about blood flow. And I call it the multimodality approach because it really takes 6 systems to comprehensively reverse and treat sexual dysfunction. So let's take one step back and just review what involved when there is when a man gets an erection or even aroused. So what's involved? It starts in the brain. The brain is your largest sexual organ. It's not your sexual organ. The brain. Everything starts in the brain. And the first system is the brain, because the brain gets aroused from the 5 senses, such as what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, and what you touch. So those 5 senses send messages to the brain to say, okay, I'm aroused, I'm in the mood. And then from there, from the brain, it interface with your emotion. How you're feeling then? Are you relaxed? Are you or are you anxious? Or are you stressed? Or are you distracted? And then you get filtered to the emotions. And then from there, the brain releases hormones from the master gland, and it's in the brain, releases hormone and chemicals in your brain that stimulate the nerve, which is the nerve in the back of your head right here, that send messages to your heart, with your heart start increasing your heart rate, and then your heart pumping more blood, and then the blood vessels start to expand, start to get wider, and you get more increase of blood flow down to the sexual organ. So the sixth system that's involved is your brain, followed by your emotion, followed by your hormones, your nerve, your blood vessels, and the muscle. All right, your sexual organ. So that's how you get aroused. That's how a man gets an erection. That's how even a woman get an erection. The clitoris for a woman is her erectile tissue. So um, that's the natural progression. So, in order to reverse sexual dysfunction, you have to address the sixth system through multiple modalities, such as mindset is one modality, and mindset in clearing what's in your mind, getting the negative thoughts out, and focusing on the moment, and your mood, realizing whether you're anxious or stressed or distracted. And then the hormone, doing blood tests to look at your hormones, see how your hormones are doing. And a women after the age of about 40, her hormones start to dip. And for a man, same time as well too. Hormones start to dip, like testosterone for a man. And then looking at the heart and the blood vessel. The heart and the blood vessels are very dependent upon what you eat, like high cholesterol, or whether you are eating a well-balanced diet or you exercising. And then looking at the muscle is the muscle expansion, whether exercise played a big part of that. So the whole multiple system involved mindset, lifestyle modification, meaning, get I've recommending positive lifestyles such as no smoking, moderate alcohol, sleep at night, eat a healthy Mediterranean diet, and exercise 3 times a week, and then getting blood work to see if you have diabetes or high cholesterol or inflammation, and then correct that, or have hormone replacement therapy. And That's mainly it, really. And then, if for men with severe dysfunction that's been going on for a decade or so, then we start treating the blood flow and the muscle through using stem cell therapy, which is harvesting his own blood and then place it in the sexual organ to increase more blood flow. So depending on the severity of the problem and how long he's had the problem, depending on how much of intervention that he needs. But it all starts in the brain. So that's the message I'm trying to get, is that it's not a one-dimensional, one single therapy that will fix it all. So if a man finds that he's not performing as what he used to, is to take a step back and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't be taking that little blue pill on Google, because what's he going to do? He's not going to talk to his wife or his partner. He's definitely not going to talk to his friend. He's going to go on Google. And then he become prey to all this, people that are trying to tell him, take this medicine, take this supplement, go to this online dispensary and take Viagra and Cialis. Those medicine are actually have a lot of side effects, a lot. And it could be potentially fatal to have heart attacks and also stroke as well too. I know several men that take Viagra and end up having a stroke from it. And so take a step back. So I'm trying to say is that for a man who's listening to this, please, if you're having some issue, take a step back and just look. Okay, what type of diet am I eating? Am I eating more processed carbohydrates or sugar? Am I eating a hamburger or steak every day with French fries and potato chip, followed by a dessert, a cheesecake or so? That's not good. Because those are all high processed food and carbohydrates that are damaging to the blood vessels. And therefore, when the blood vessel damaged, you're not getting a lot of good flow. And take a step back and say, am I eating enough vegetables? Maybe I need to, vegetables should be half of your plate, any type of vegetable better than nothing. And again, are you smoking? If you're smoking, that you might as well choke your sex life away, because smoking is just restrictive of blood flow. And are you sleeping 7 hours a day? All right. You need to be sleeping because that's how your body heals physically and mentally. And that's how your hormones start to be to recover and secreted during when you're sleeping. And then look at your exercise routine. Are you exercising, or you're just mainly in front of the computer 8 hours a day, or you're in front of the computer, watching porn 8 hours a day? And so just, moving around. You need to be moving around. You need to have at least exercise, moderate exercise, about 3 hours a week. Just simple things like that that will make a long that goes a long way, rather than just popping in that Viagra, that Cialis, because yes, it does help you achieve more firmness, but that's just a band-aid on a bigger problem. I equate taking Viagra as like taking opioid pain medication for back pain, because you're just covering the problem. You're not treating the source that's going on. And I can't tell you how many times I hear my patient, all they do is just cut down red meat. So a lot of my patients, they eat red meat almost every day or 5 times a week, and all they do is just cut it down to maybe once a week, and cut down the pasta and cut down the bread to maybe just 2 slices a day of bread, and red meat once a week. They go, you know what? Oh my God, I sleep better. I don't have indigestion anymore. I have more energy now. And, I feel, more firmness already. Just making little tweaks like that will go a long way. And it takes about 6 weeks for your body to really, perceive the changes and seeing the positive effect. And so it's just like my whole point is that don't medicate the problem. As you know, we live in a society that take this pill to sleep, take this pill for your focus, take this pill to if you want more energy, right? It's not like that, is that? And we need to look at the causes why you have those symptoms. So
Yeah,
that's the multimodality approach.
that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, what a concept, right? The body actually has a potential to heal. And when you start taking care of your body, it takes care of you, and these things start to heal themselves. So your body has the capacity to do that. And unfortunately, we've transitioned to a society who just wants a quick fix and is not really concerned about what caused the problem. It's just about, I just want the problem to go away. But
Right.
your approach is, hey, this is a red flag. It says if you're having sexual dysfunction, that means there's one or more problems going on in these 6 areas. And you should take this seriously and get to the root of the problem and cure that. So then you don't have the symptom anymore, instead of just throwing a pill at the symptom and pretending like you don't have an actual underlying problem, which the underlying problem is still there, and it's only going to get worse.
Absolutely. And that's why sometimes I'll see some patient come to see me after a decade or, of taking medicine. All of a sudden, oh, it's not working anymore. Oh, now I have a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like, a problem that's been there for a whole decade. So to treat it, you really gotta, if you can treat it, gotta really dig down deep and really change a lot of stuff. But interestingly, sexual health parallel heart health, because
Mhm.
everything that I talk about is in changes. It's also the same treatment paradigm for heart health, right? Eating better, exercising more, right? So it's really, like I said, a warning sign for a man and a woman that when you're having that when you have sexual health, when a dysfunction, when you have sexual dysfunction, is really a sign that your health it's imbalanced at that time. Do something about it now that you can reverse it, because it's good for your heart, and when it's good for your heart, it's good for your life, right? You can live longer and have a more better quality of life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And waiting that long, like you said, with that patient who waited a whole decade, it's going to be much harder and a much longer process to heal 10 years of not dealing with the problem than if he would have come in year one, right? It would have
Yeah.
been saved him so much more time and effort to deal with it now. So, reaching out to someone like you would be a great idea to start getting help immediately instead of waiting until 10 years from now when things are really, really bad and you have a lot of work to do.
Introducing the new Fireteam Whiskey Fitness and Nutrition app. Everything you need to get fit and lose weight right at your fingertips. Choose from hundreds of fitness videos and fitness plans. Search for workouts by fitness level, equipment available, or body part focus. Choose from several nutrition plans and customize your macros. Your entire fitness, nutrition, and wellness plan all scheduled on your calendar. Text a trainer anytime for tips, tricks, and motivation. Achieve your fitness and health goals with the Fireteam Whiskey app. Go to www.fireteamwhiskey.com to get 2 weeks of results for free.
Right. Absolutely. Well, as with any problem, right? If you neglect the problem, it just gets worse over time. If you, I correlate that to like a car, right? When your car start making the noise, you bring it to the mechanic, get it fixed right away, right? Why don't you do that to your own body? Why don't we
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to that in our own body? And I also equate sexual health like taking care of your teeth. You go to the dentist, get your teeth cleaned every 6 months. So you prevent it from, decaying. So that way you have teeth when you get older. Well, why can't we do the same thing for our intimate life? Take care of it so you can have it until, the day you die. And it's definitely, I've seen it done. It's definitely possible to have that. We just got to take care of it like you take care of your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So you wrote a book, Erectile Dysfunction Fix. So I'm assuming in this book you cover some of these premises and have people learn about what they can do, on their own, to improve their health and then in turn, of course, improve their sexual health. And you also have this neat thing that sounds like a really secret society club called the Modern Man Club. What is that?
Right. So the Modern Man Club is my way of trying to reach a wider audience that can't come and see me as a patient. And my whole message is that a man, if you starting to see symptoms, start addressing it now. Don't take that blue pill. Join this club. Where I coach you on what you need to do to regain your sexual vitality again and avoid taking that medication. Oftentimes, there's a saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? So men don't know what they don't know. They just Google and they just happen to take that medicine and it seems to help. It's not their fault. But the Modern Man Club is our way of reaching a wider audience nationally as well as internationally to spread the message that sexual health reflects your general health and that there is simple ways of reversing it if you know how. And that's where I coach men in that club to be able to implement these strategies that will not only reverse their problem, but also help them have general good health later on, and of course, heart health. And it's like I said, you're getting back to the basics of what you're doing and what work doesn't work, because a lot of them take supplement online or they hear about these new things and so forth. A lot of it is gimmicks, a lot of it is just sales tactic that doesn't work. Like I always said, it takes a multidimensional, multimodality approach for reversing sexual vitality. And oftentimes it's just about getting to the basics of what I mentioned earlier: diet, sleep, exercise, stress, communication, and listening to your body. And oftentimes that goes a long way. And also, it's also a place where men can talk about their condition openly as well, and share their experience with other men. So it's a very safe, supporting environment for men with sexual dysfunction to be able to regain vitality and share their experiences.
Yeah, that's great. So if you don't live near your clinic, then you can still get Dr. Truong's help with this by joining that club. So that sounds very exclusive and like that would be very helpful. So we've been talking about men a lot, and of course, you and I being women, let's not leave the ladies out of this conversation. So you do help women as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the services you provide to women?
Yes. So for women, you start seeing changes as early as late 30s and even early 40s. And and I'm talking about women that still have their uterus, the woman that hasn't had a hysterectomy yet. But know that if you have a hysterectomy, you're a year later, you're in menopause. When you're in menopause, that means that you no longer are secreting three hormones in your body, such as estrogen, which is responsible for making you a female. Progesterone help with your mood and your sleep, and testosterone help protect your muscles and your bone, but also it's involved with your libido as well and your sexual responses. So they stopped producing that because that comes from the ovaries. That 90% of all the hormones, sexual hormones, are secreted in the ovaries. And if you have a hysterectomy, you no longer have that. And most ladies start to see a decline first in testosterone hormone around late 30s or even around 40. So the hormone testosterone start to decrease first, and that's why her libido decreases, her muscle mass start to decrease. You're not as strong as you used to be. You start gaining weight, start having more fat, and then followed by progesterone. Progesterone is help you with your mood, help with sleep. So the first sign of menopause is really sleep disturbances and also decreased libido for women. So women start to, that's how I knew was that around mid 40s, I started waking up at 3 o'clock every morning. And I would go to bed at 10. I would wake up at 3. No matter what time I go to bed, I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day. It's like as if like an alarm went off. So sleep disturbances is also a sign of menopause as well. And then when estrogen start to fall around mid 40s or so, you start having hot flashes, night sweat, foggy brain. So that's the classic symptoms you hear about menopause. And it starts really around 40s and it can last all the way to mid 50s, even late 50s. You can go for 10 to 12 years of these symptoms until your body start kind of like plateauing out as well too. But the message I want to get out there is that the symptom starts really as early as even late 30s and early 40s. It's just that at that time you're probably busy, you're not paying attention to it, you're blaming it on, oh, I'm not sleeping well, I'm tired, so that's why I'm not in the mood and so forth. Unfortunately, we don't have a sexual organ like a man, so we can't just look and say, oh, I'm not as firm as I used to be. The clitoris is we don't see it, and you don't know that, hey, I'm not getting as much blood flow down there as a man. So I'm not, I may have some sexual imbalances as well. But that's why I focus on the symptoms and describe the symptoms that she has that are actually signs of menopause. And the first thing is also lubrication, when she feels that she's not as lubricated down there as she used to, and therefore intimacy is uncomfortable sometimes. It's uncomfortable, and that's why it's harder for her to sometimes take longer for her to to get the climatic state. So that's the sexual cycle of a woman from going from a premenopause to menopause and through postmenopause. And menopause is defined as 1 year without having a period or a cycle, but you have to have a consecutive for 1 year at this point. And like for myself, for instance, I started going through it in mid 40s, and I'm through it now, but I'm on hormone replacement therapy. Because if I'm not on hormone replacement therapy, I would wake up at 3 o'clock every morning and I can't function. And I can't work if that keep happening. But it also helped me with my libido, and it helped me with maintaining my weight, because the testosterone hormone helped me with developing more muscle mass and less body fat, and to protect my bone. One message I want to get out there is that osteoporosis, women experience this a lot, because osteoporosis is actually reversible if you know that's related to hormone, and that's related to the decline in estrogen, as well as testosterone. So if you know that you're having these symptoms, seek a provider or a doctor that can do bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And all it does is just a cream and a compounded pill that you take at night to really reverse all these symptoms that will make you feel like you're in your 30s again, and you have better quality of life, so you don't have to suffer through all these menopause symptoms that I described. And that if you have osteopenia, look at it, at bioidentical replacement therapy, get a bone density test, because you can reverse it. And if you have osteoporosis, it may be too late, depending on what your age is. But the point I'm trying to say is that it is a reversible condition. I look at it as like getting vaccination, and it's a shame that we actually still have women still have osteoporosis.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a shame. It's pretty sad that, that definitely is reversible, and just with a little bit of
And
effort.
preventable.
And preventable. Yes, for sure.
With vitamin D, taking vitamin
Mhm.
D and taking calcium for bone health.
Yeah. Adequate, good nutrition, again, coming back to the basics, right? It comes right back to the basics. So it's amazing how simple it really is, but we make it seem so complicated, because it just seems we came so far away from that just what our ancestors did, and they didn't have these conditions, but with the modern
Absolutely. Yep.
society, we do now. So
Right. And I the one thing that I talk about is like, think of what you eat, like the fuel that you put into your car. If your car needs super unleaded fuel, you're not going to put regular fuel in, right? You put regular fuel, it's not going to be optimal, right? It's not going to be functioning optimal. Same thing with our body. Our body needs super unleaded. But when you're giving it just regular unleaded, it's going to have some symptoms. So if you're eating a lot of simple carbohydrates, a lot of bread, a lot of pasta, a lot of sweet, a lot of fatty meal, you're gonna start the engine's not gonna be as optimal. And what you feed in your body is the fuel. It's the fuel for your whole body to function. And that's something that you can think about, but it's never too late. Whatever you eat, it's gonna go out the other end within 24 hours. So you can change it, tomorrow, and it'll be reflected in what's in your blood within like 24 hours.
Yeah. I always say to my nutrition coaching clients, like, when your body is, you are what you eat, right? You're consuming this food because it makes up the building blocks of what makes you who you are. All of your cells in your body are made out of what you eat. So, if you're eating Twinkies and donuts and sugary, energy drinks, then that's what your body is going to be made out of. And I don't know, I think I would prefer a body made of vegetables and meats and fruits and, all these natural things,
Yeah.
So, you must be, you must work 24/7, because you have, when I was looking at your website, the amount of services that you offer in your clinic is just astounding. We would spend 3 hours just covering all that. But you also have a podcast. So it's the Sexual Health for Men podcast. So those who are listening, definitely check that out. You also have another ebook. You have an ebook called How to Regain Sexual Function, Libido, and Treat Erectile Dysfunction Without Drugs or Surgery with Platelet-Rich Plasma, the P-Shot ebook. So the link to that's going to be on the show notes as well. And you have an online course for men's performance. So menshealthandperformance.com. So is this similar to, it's not the club. The club is coaching.
Right. The club is coaching, but I put a lot of that content from the course into the coaching program. But the coaching program is really you learn from the different videos in there, and then if you have questions, then I'll answer it, and then I'll give tips on how to implement it as well. The course is really more do it yourself. You listen to the training, and then you do it yourself. So there's no interaction from there as well. So it depends on what type of learner you are at this point. But our club is actually more interactive, and that's something that I really enjoy, and feel that I'm able to help more men that with the conditioning, because they are so inundated with pill, take this pill for this, right? I mean, Viagra is an $8 billion a year drug for nothing. And I want to touch upon this, that ED for men is very, very common. According to a study that was done in 2000, there were at that time 30 million men that had ED, and we're 22 years now. I would project that would be a lot more than just 30 million men, and that they're men between the age of 40 to 70, 50% of them have ED. All right.
Wow.
And so it's very, very common. So if you're between 40 to 70, half of the guys you're hanging around have ED. And ED is just not defined as whether you have enough firmness or not. It defines that, okay, are you if a man noticing longer to get firmness or not, or if he gets firmness, he loses it partially, or he loses it completely, or that it's not, or a complete no firmness at all. So it's a spectrum. So most men think, oh, I have an erection, I don't have ED. No, that's not right at all. It's just, are you functioning the same as you were maybe in your early 30s or 20s? And so that's really the definition of ED. That's why it's so widespread. And also ED really correlate with obesity. So if a man has a waist that's over 40 inches, that correlate with ED as well. And ED also correlate with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And when you're obese, you tend to have those three conditions. So as obesity rises, so is the incidence of ED. And that's just not only for men, it's also for women as well too, because the same physiology that affect men blood flow is also affects women as well too. But we don't have a sexual organ that we can look at every day to tell whether how you're functioning sexually as well. And for women, actually, the prevalence of sexual dysfunction is fairly high, between even 30 to 40 as well too. It's just not widely recognized in women as it is in men.
Yes. Yeah. It's not as obvious, right?
Yes, not as
Right.
obvious.
Right.
Right.
Well, Dr. Trong, I'm so excited. I'm so glad you came on the show. I learned so much. And where is your clinic, by the way, so people know
Yeah,
where that is?
right. So my clinic is in Fredericksburg, Virginia,
Okay.
and that's just an hour south of DC. I'm
Yep.
just in the suburb of DC is our clinic, and that's where we treat men with more severe symptoms of ED, but we also treat women as well that have like changes in their orgasmic function, or needing a little bit more intensive treatment and hormone replacement therapy. I'm a big advocate of that. I think that's a life-changing, that's anti-aging, as you get older, and it's gonna be improving your quality of life as well as longevity as well.
Good. Well, I'll be visiting you when that starts happening for me.
Well, you're
Sign
too
me up.
young for that now at this time, but now that you know the symptoms and to look out for it, then you know what to do. It's like, now whoever's listening to
Mhm.
this episode on your podcast knows to keep in mind that when you get around late 30s and your 40s, just be aware of these symptoms that may crop up. And one thing I want to mention too is that the incidence of ED is also rising in younger men because
Mhm.
of easily accessible streaming of pornography as
Yeah.
well. Now, pornography has its uses, but when pornography starts to interfere with work, interfere with family life, and if you're on it like 8 to 12 hours a day and you don't do anything and you just have to watch it just to function in the day, then it starts to negatively affect negatively affect your natural response
Mhm.
at that time when you're with another person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Trong, for being on the Warrior Wellness podcast, and all of the links to all the things that you offer, not only for your clinic there in Fredericksburg, but the Modern Man Club membership. So that's the coaching program with Dr. Trong herself. So you can work with her virtually, so you don't have to be in Fredericksburg. Check out her podcast, the Sexual Health for Men podcast, and her book, which is the Erectile Dysfunction Fix. All of that will be in the show notes. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Hey guys, thanks so much again for joining us on another episode of the Warrior Wellness Podcast. Please make sure to subscribe, follow, like, all that good stuff on your favorite podcast platform and on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and leave us a review while you're there. And if you screenshot your review, email it to info@fireteamwhiskey.com with your name and address. You'll be entered into our drawing for a prize for just leaving us a review. So let us know what we're doing great, what you'd like to hear more about. And please go ahead and just give us a follow and give us a honest review, especially on iTunes, because that helps us reach other military members, veterans, and first responders with this vitally important information about how to improve their health, fitness, and wellness. We will see you at the next episode of the Warrior Wellness Podcast. I am your podcast host, former Army Captain Stephanie Lincoln, founder of Fire Team Whiskey.